All right, guys, welcome back to day number 14 of the Fit Chick Project. And today I've got on another special guest for you. She was one of the CrossFit's best known and most admired athletes, Andrea Ager, also known as Ager Bomb and now known as Andrea Montalvo. Now, she was really remembered for a few things: her tirelessly long training sessions, which you're going to hear all about, her infectious smile, and of course, you can't forget her cute booty short and sports bra outfits because they were always on point. But few know of the 6-month depression that she went through and the struggles with food that has been there ever since. Okay. You'll be able to relate to her story if you've ever found yourself trapped in the vicious cycle of just striving to make it. And for her, it was the CrossFit Games. The complete opposite of Val Voboril's strategy, Ager was willing to do whatever it took to make it, including starting her workouts at 1 a.m. and eating perfectly clean for like 3 or 4 years straight. And the only thing that seemed to get her out of her tunnel vision of digging deeper and going harder was to literally take herself out of the environment that was fueling it. That's when she started to adopt a fit life with more balance and more freedom. She's gone from not cheating on her diet once in 3 years to now allowing herself ice cream 2 to 3 times per week while still staying fit. In this interview, you'll get to hear how she's been able to make this transition and still stay fit and lean. Some of my favorite topics of conversation were: one, what her ridiculously unsustainable but exciting Hollywood training schedule looked like and what it did to her body. Number 2, her 6-month depression phase where she couldn't train, she cried all day, and she had food issues. Number 3, how she pulled herself out of the addictive Hollywood environment and into a more balanced lifestyle. Number 4, how she let go of being so strict with food. Number 5, what her fun training style looks like today. Number 6, how she incorporates ice cream and pancakes and restaurants into her diet. Number 7, what she does when she doesn't feel like working out. And number 7, her secret to keeping her workouts fun and how she's able to stay fit without going through the extreme fitness and dieting routines. So I hope you guys can take away something from this interview. Be sure to check her out on Instagram, and also check out her new fitness program, Embrace Movement, which is workouts for women that want to be challenged physically and spiritually. Links are below. I hope you guys enjoy the show. All right, Andrea, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, happy to be here, all the way from New York.
Awesome. So I'm really excited to have Andrea Ager on. She's actually, so her former name is Andrea Ager, otherwise known as Ager Bomb, and she's now known today as Andrea Montalvo. But most of you guys are going to remember her as Ager. So I'm really excited to have her on because Andrea was like, so you were kind of like the Brooke Ents of, CrossFit. I feel like back in the day, like just like the popular, kind of everybody, knew who Ager was, like just kind of knew you, loved you, and it's just really cool to see what your transition's been like throughout all these years, and so let's go ahead and dive into like what your story's been like. So let's start off with your athletic career. What was your highest ranking with CrossFit?
Well, it's crazy to think back to just CrossFit because I met you so far before I was anything in CrossFit, So,
That's right.
I was in Colorado at the same gym with you at CrossFit Red. And I think back to that time, and I was actually really inspired by your Fran time. First time I ever did Fran, I got 9:35, and I looked up at the board and saw that you had done it in like 3 minutes. I was like, what? This is crazy. I think I started in 2010, and I was just so amped to be in the CrossFit world and to get better at it and to get stronger. And it was just, it was a whirlwind. But then I quickly ended up moving to California, and that's kind of where I would say like the popularity or like the household name, whatever you would want to call it. I guess just started building a brand, started competing, started just really, I guess, making a name for myself through local competitions and some sponsorships, but mostly just kind of having an online presence before a lot of athletes did in CrossFit. So yeah, I guess my highest ranking was I got first in the world for the burpee workout in 2012 in the Open. It was really cool actually because I got 142 burpees in 7 minutes and I tied Rich Froning. And I remember thinking it was like so awesome, like just being like, oh, like I got to like, win the money and like whatever, like, we were broke, right? We were just like all struggling to like be athletes full time and try to work and coach some classes in between. And so it was so much fun. I mean, I just remember that was a huge hype for me, was that Open experience and placing well. I think I placed in the top 10 in the world. And then in 2011, I went to the CrossFit Games with a team called Brick out of Los Angeles, California. And this team was full of like athletes that were all like actors and actresses and CrossFit coaches, and they had all the time in the world to train. So we would train all the time. Oh my gosh, it was just fun. And I think that was probably my most improved year out of everything because I made so many just like big gains strength wise and learned how to do so much stuff in gymnastics. And that year we got fifth at the CrossFit Games overall. And then, fast forward to 2016, I was on a team again here from New York City, and we got fourth in the world. So at the games, didn't make the podium, came one place short of making the podium, but that was some of like my funnest memories ever because training to win the games is a lot different of a mindset than just training to try to make it to the games. So it was really, really competitive and nonstop, and the training was really intense.
Yeah. And I mean, like, what team was that when you went to in 2016? Dynamics. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
Dynamics.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you were still a very good individual competitor too. And you quickly, like, you started and you were quickly right up there, like your transition from when you started to moving to California, like that happened so fast. And I remember like you were competing at regionals and you were placing really well. So you almost made it to the CrossFit Games, I think a couple of times, right? A few times?
Every year for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, 2011, I did make it as a team, but then I went individual right after that. And I was like, it was a really big thing for me because I was doing double unders in the games and my jump rope broke. And I was totally like the weakest link on my team because I couldn't figure out how to use my teammates' jump rope and like get it together enough to like, I guess, like push us to the end, And I remember thinking, I want to be better at everything. I don't ever want to be the weakest person on a team again. I want to be an individual. I want to have to do everything. I don't want to have any weaknesses that are like glaring. Like I want to have like an even playing field where like I can compete against like the best girls. And so in SoCal it was very competitive. I mean, these girls, even at local competitions, these were some of the top in the CrossFit Games. So even doing like a local like throwdown in a parking lot was like felt like regionals, And so we did that for years. And then in 2012 was kind of my first like debut as an individual. That year I came 1 point from making the podium and making it to the CrossFit Games as an individual. And then 2013, I placed high in a lot of events, but then I withdrew for a certain
Snatch. That's right.
It was the
overhead squat.
Yeah,
overhead squat.
Dilemma. I don't really know how to call it.
I remember that.
It was really interesting because I really did have a chance to make it to the games that year, but the rules in SoCal had been changed, not on purpose, but by a confusion of a standard. And so like basically they were going to be giving people free passes through an event that was very difficult that I didn't do well in. And so like the whole world was mad about it. And I was like, hey, I'm going to make it to the games and it's not going to be this way. And so I withdrew and didn't compete for the final day. But I remember 2013 like it was yesterday because it was so impactful on like me and my maturity and like and me as a person, and then 2014 and 15 I was in Colorado, and so I was competing out of the right when they started making the super regionals, they combined all the regions.
Yeah.
The playing field was way deeper, and so they started taking 5. And that year in 2014 I got 7th out of 5 people make it to the games. And then the next year I got 13th, and 5 made it to the games. So then that last year, I mean, I actually still wanted to go individual from New York City, But then I ended up going team with a group that was, I mean, just awesome. And they wanted to win the games. And I was like, man, that would be so cool to like go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so that was kind of like my career of like always almost making it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, each year after regionals, going back to the drawing board and seeing what I could change and how I could improve to make it to the games next year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a full-time job. What did that look like for you? What was training like back in the day? Like how long, intensity? Yeah, what did that look like?
I mean, it feels like it was training all day. That's what it feels
Mm-hmm.
like. But a lot of it was eating and cooking and you know, fueling and coaching. Also, I mean, in LA especially, I worked like a slave. It was crazy. I worked at like 3 different gyms. I coached like between 30 and 40 hours a week for a whole year. And I was like still training private clients in the middle of the day and then working out by myself. And there were days when I wouldn't get to train because I was so busy. And then I would open up the gym with my keys at 1 a.m. and teach myself how to handstand walk. I mean,
1 a.m.? Are you
yes,
serious?
so extreme. Like I would like go spend time at Whole Foods and like recover and like, you know, get my stuff done and my emails and things I need to do for sponsors and stuff. And then I would like turn on the music and blast it and just like, you know, work out by myself for like an hour or 2 hours and then like
Oh
go to
my
sleep
God.
all over again. It was absolutely insane. I look back to those years, I'm like, good thing I was like 22 to like 24 or whatever, because I was just like, I was burning the candle at both ends, if that even is like, you know, if that's even like an appropriate term to use. I mean, maybe it was
Yeah.
like close, but but yeah,
Yeah.
it was an insane but feeling, but it was like a love. It was a love for training. I was always tired,
Yeah.
if you remember, but I was always fueled with energy to go and attack a hard wad. And I
Yeah.
just remember like really loving it. You know, that was like what fueled me, was like that passion.
That's so crazy, dude, because on the outside, it looks like you had it all figured out, like, just everything was easy. But here you are, like, slaving like a dog, like at 1 a.m. going in. And it did not look like on the outside that you were burnt out because you just always, like, something about you, you always have a smile on your face. Like, every picture, every post, like everything, you always were just smiling. And so it just looked like, it certainly didn't look like you were training, at 1 a.m. and then working 40 hours a week on top of that. So that's awesome to hear. That's crazy. And so when you talk about burning the candle at both ends, like, did there come a point where you're like, this is not working? Like this, like working harder I'm killing myself. Did anything happen? Any type of aha moment?
Yeah, actually, in 2013, one of my guy friends like made a joke, because like, you know, whatever, there was a strength event and he said, well, maybe you should just get stronger this year. Like as a joke, like literally at regionals after an event. And I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, too soon, you know, how funny, you know. But like we trained together, so he knew like I wasn't like not trying to always work on my strength gains, you know. So it was like one of those things like, okay, well, this is the year I'm gonna make it extreme. And so Louis Simmons in Ohio, I just emailed him and I was like, Louis, like, I know you're good at making people strong. And I know that you have experience and written more textbooks than like anyone else. And like, I would love to intern for you. Or if I could just be a project of yours, I would move out there in a second. He like wrote back, his staff or whoever like wrote back, they're like, yeah, come up here. So like I literally moved out there within like a couple weeks of hearing back from him, lived up there for like 5 months. And he helped me so much. I mean, I learned so much from him. And also, you know, I know you have a lot of experience with Louis too. And so it was incredible to see his dedication to the sport and his and just like how he thought of me really as like a project, like a strength project of like, oh, we're gonna improve this, we're gonna improve this. He would even say things like, oh, she has a weak posterior chain, we need to build these muscles up, we need to build this up. And I'm like, okay, all right, like I'm down to do anything. He would always point out that my quads were overcompensating, that I was so strong in my squat and my quads, but that I need to like be stronger in my deadlifts. And I'm like, okay, same old freaking thing, Louis. But
Yeah.
but I loved his enthusiasm for honestly just training and putting his like heart and soul into me. And you know, 5 months I almost consider moving there. I loved Ohio. I loved the, I wouldn't say like laid back feel, but like family feel, suburban feel. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
getting that in LA. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a really special time. But so then like, yeah, I mean that my training was a lot different then, because I wasn't training all day. I didn't have these training partners that were like pushing me harder, like insane, like intensity in CrossFit and gymnastics. It was more just like I was focusing on strength. I trained in the morning for 2 hours, trained in the evening for like an hour and a half, and that was it. So like during the day, I had all this time to study and learn different things and read books and take naps and like relax a little bit. And it was a really, really cool time, honestly. And so then when I decided to move, instead of moving back to LA, I took all my stuff from LA, put it in my car, and me and my friend like drove my car back to Colorado, and I became training partners with Pat Burke. And I remember calling him and being like, hey, I'm moving home. Will you train with me? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, like every day, like for 3 hours? He's like, yeah, I'll do that. I'm like, okay, let's make it the games. Let's go. And so like, I just remember like calling that kid, clicking the phone and being like, this year is going to be really exciting. And like, you know, I went home, I got to connect with my family. I got to do things that I hadn't done in a long time. I hadn't done since before college. So like when I came back from LA, I was like 25, 26. And I moved away when I was 18 to go to college. So I hadn't seen my brother in like 8 years, you know, and he was like 12 when I left. And when I came home, he was like 20. So it was like a huge difference of even just getting to enjoy my family, enjoy my siblings. I'm the oldest of 4, and like spend time with my parents and really kind of try to have more of that balance, like you said.
Okay. So that's when the balance kind of started to come. And just kind of out of curiosity, what was your diet back then as well? Like, was it just super strict macros? What was going on there?
You know, I don't even remember macros being so popular back then. I know it is now, and like now almost every athlete like is counting their, you know, all their macros and all their, you know, carbs and protein and make sure they have the right amount of fat like in every meal even. And I don't remember like I remember zone being a thing, and we learned it at CrossFit, but I remember hearing from people, they're like, yeah, that's just what CrossFit does. They do zone. They're like, but no one else does that. And I'm like, okay, what does everyone else do? They're like, paleo. I'm like, okay, sign me up. And so like I just started doing paleo like super intense when I was back in Grand Junction the first time in 2011 or 2010. And so I was doing paleo from 2010 to like 2013. So for 3 years straight, I didn't cheat one time. I didn't have any milk products. I didn't have any sugar that was like refined, anything outside of like, you know, fruit occasionally, but tons and tons of vegetables and salads and all meat. So I would eat like pounds of bacon, pounds of, you know, eggs and just even like burgers with no bun, and just like everything was protein and fat, some carbs, no sugar. I mean, it was pretty interesting. I wasn't even eating rice at the time. And then eventually I did add in rice and potatoes, which actually really helped me get stronger. But it wasn't for like 3 years until I was really willing to do that, because I was afraid of the way my body would react and stuff like that. So I look back to pictures and I'm like, I don't even eat like that now. And I'm just like, it's so crazy how lean I was. But I was also working out so much. Like I was working out at such a high level and so intensely for so many hours a day. It's just a totally different lifestyle.
Did you struggle with any sort of binging or anything like that, or any sort of like, binges with food or like sugar and stuff?
Yeah, I didn't struggle during that time because like all my friends were like, they were really like into the diet that we all ate. And so like when we wouldn't go out very much, but when we did, it was like to Whole Foods or like to like, you know, a restaurant that like we were going to be like, oh, this place has like awesome steak and, you know, whatever, like sweet potato fries would be like, I guess the thing that I would ever have really. But I during that time, no. But then in 2012, actually, I went through like a 6-month-long depression when I didn't make it to the games. And it was a really, really hard thing for me to be 1 point away from making it as an individual, and then feel like so rejected, so undervalued, so underappreciated. Like CrossFit broke up with me. That's what it felt like. And I was to the point where I couldn't even train anymore. I would go to the gym. I couldn't even do a muscle up. I would go to the gym. I couldn't even work. Like they would send me home because I'd be crying. Like I was like 6 months was like sleeping during the day and like up crying all night and just like so depressed, honestly. And yes, during that time, like I completely abandoned my like athletic diet and my goals and my dreams. And like, I basically was just like, you know, self-deprecating, I guess. And yeah, I just remember ever since then, I've always kind of like, I guess had more of a struggle with that. Like occasionally, like a couple times a year, I guess I could remember. where like maybe that happened again. But I just remember like when I think about like binging or just like throwing it all away, not caring, it was that time because I couldn't stand like the thought of like training like I was and eating like I was for a purpose and not being good enough. Like it was so hard for me.
And so are you saying like you still struggle like every once in a while with that then?
Well, now like my life is so different. It's honestly so different. I mean, unfortunately, like in 2016, you know, we had an awesome time. We had a great time at the games, but I was overtrained. I was fatigued. I was like out. I mean, I was eating great during that year. I was always trying to get stronger, always trying to get bigger. So I really did have a lot more carbs and fat in me. I like really explored a lot of different macros and was doing RP, but RP to gain strength. And so I was on these programs and I always felt like I never could eat enough. I mean, I'm like naturally like a tall, skinny runner. So to keep weight on me has always been difficult. So I was always behind on my macros and always trying to make up for it that year. But then afterwards, I took a month off after the CrossFit Games, but that 2016 season was so intense because of the accountability, honestly, of other people pushing. My coach was so intense. Justin Cutler is like an NFL coach, obsession level. And so he would like watch over me while I was like doing a workout, and he'd be like behind me while I was on the bike, taking notes and scores of like everything I was doing. And then he'd be like saying that one of my teammates went faster this morning when she did that workout, like over my shoulder. Like he was like that all the time. And we would train, I mean, 2 hours cardio in the morning. We would do running, swimming, or rowing. And then we would have an hour break, and then like we'd do like 3 or 4 hours of CrossFit training, gymnastics, weighted gymnastics, Oli lifting, and that was like 5 days a week. And then like 1 day a week we would do like all competition stuff, and then we'd have 1 day off. And so my body was like so beat up. So, you know, after the games, you know, I took a month off. And I'm like, okay, that's enough, right? Like I'm just working out casually. I'm having fun. I'm back to normal life. Okay, I'm getting ready to, you know, get back into a training program. Let's do a squat program. I got on this awesome Spencer Arnold squat program that I had done in the past with Becky Konzelman out of Colorado. And she had introduced me to it, and it had really helped me with my strength gains. So I'm like, I'm going to do it again. And my body was not ready. My body was not ready. Like I was so still fatigued that it was like, I can't do this anymore. And like, I was in the middle of like a 50 to 70% back squat, like really not heavy at all. And like my back just like seized, and I could feel it. Like, it felt like it was doing this. Zzz, that's what it felt like. And I dropped to the floor, like never to lift the same again, honestly. And I remember like my husband now, but my boyfriend at the time, I was like calling for him, and he was on the way home from work. He came to the gym. Him and my coach picked me up off the ground and like took me to my car. Like I couldn't even walk. And like I was recovering like that for the next year from this like intense L4, L5 back injury. And so, you know, was it all those years of training, or was it that training session, or was it that season? I don't know what it was. It was probably years of movement patterns needing correction, but doing whatever I could to dive under heavy weights, things like that. But yeah, and so during that time, I was like, what is life? You know, like what is my identity? And I really had to lean on my faith like never before. I mean, I really had to go, okay, I live in a new state. I'm dating a new person that I think I'm going to marry. I might stay in New York City. I've never even been here before. You know, I have new friends. I'm not going to be on their games team next year, which is what my goal was, or possibly to go individual this year. So all of my dreams were like crashing. And so it was so difficult. And so ever since then, I think that my balance has been a lot better. Like 2017, I didn't even do the open. 2018, I did do it, but I was not like going ham. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I can do the open because I'm healthy enough. And then 2018, 2019 opens were probably like my most fun. I was married. I got to do them with Pete. My husband has lost like 40 pounds doing CrossFit. So he was like chub. And then all of a sudden now he can do like 8, 9, 10 muscle ups in a row. And I'm like, you didn't even know how to do one before. Like, this is so cool. And so we got to do it together. You know, we have friends, and the community around us is super healthy. And so it's just a different feel. And he's a foodie. I mean, he was overweight before, so he loves food. Okay. City has amazing food. So like, he's like, I'm going to train kind of like a bodybuilder. And then on Saturdays, I'm gonna have like a huge cheat meal. And I'm like, okay, I'm really not used to that. Like my training was never like that. And I honestly don't even know if it was that healthy for me to like add that in, because it was like something I had like never done before. But like I did that with him for like a whole year. And I'm like, okay, it's actually really fun to look forward to like trying a new restaurant or going out somewhere different or getting food with friends as a celebration for like, Greek food and then Brazilian food and then Thai food and then whatever. And so, yeah, Saturday nights, that was our thing. We'd always look forward to it. Every week it was like a new place of like finding somewhere to go as an adventure. It wasn't really about how can this affect me as a athlete? It was more like, how can I like have fun and enjoy my life and go out and do an experience that I never really got to be a part of.
So was there, so what I noticed is that first off, when you went from California to Colorado, it was something that you forced yourself out of the environment. And then again, the injury forced yourself out of the environment. And that has been able to help you make that transition. Because otherwise, if we hadn't, who knows, maybe we'd still be in that environment if that hadn't happened.
Right.
So that was kind of nice to sort of, to help you release your grip from all the obsessive training that we were doing. Now, were you worried about like how the food was going to affect your body, like kind of giving up your control and going out and having more fun? Was there some hesitancy? Like how did you, because I mean, we all still want to like look fit, feel fit. So how did you find that balance with going out to eat and also staying fit?
I think I struggled with it at first, but eventually I was like, okay, I'm not even like training for anything right now. I'm like recovering, like my body's recovering. So maybe it needs this. Like maybe it actually needs to be like, maybe it's going to help me with my stress, and maybe it's going to help me with, like you're saying, balance. And I at the time, like I also had this really, really great community of friends that were from the church. And we have a group from the gym, and our gym is 2 blocks from our apartment, and our church is 3 blocks from our apartment. So they're right next to each other. And so we have a big crossover between. And so it was always really cool to get people from our gym who were really seeking or interested in finding a church or finding spirituality and introducing them to that life. And then same thing with people from the church that were looking to get a little more healthy and introduce them to the CrossFit world. And so it became almost like a fun thing for Pete and I, because we're like, oh, this is so great when you can, help everyone and everyone's, feeling like they're growing in something. And so kind of was like when I would go out and eat, I wasn't as worried about the actual food and how it was going to affect my body. I was like more about building relationships and enjoying it, getting to like know that it was a bigger reason of going out than just like to go like, eat something that's not going to help me as an athlete. It was more like, okay, like I want to enjoy these people, and this is what they want to do, because we're here and restaurants are like so great here. Like, this is fun. And so that helped me a lot. That really helped the balance a lot.
Your priorities changed, and it was just time. Like you were just probably, you hadn't got that for the years before. And so you were just excited to create those relationships. And what did happen to your body? Do you feel like did it blow up? Like most people think it would,
No, it's fine. I mean, I'm not as lean now, as I was before when I was training, but I feel healthy. I feel really good. To make you laugh, like I'm going through a huge transition right now. I'm pregnant. So,
I was going to ask that. Yeah. Or I mean, not like that, but I was wondering if you were going to have a kid.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. We've been married for like almost 3 years, and I've been in New York for 5. And I'm like, okay, we were like, when are we going to start having kids? And we've always wanted kids. But for Pete, it was like, when are we going to give up this lifestyle that we have, that we love? Because everything's going to change.
Exactly.
Everything's going to change. And we live in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York City, and we love it, and we don't want to move. So we're like, hey, a baby's small, right? We can just put him in the corner. Like, we're good. Let's stay here. Let's like keep up our lifestyle. And like, I'm just going to wear my baby. Like, I'm just going to put it like in a little sack thing. I'm just going to go and just hit the pavement and like have fun. And it's funny because I'm only 3 months, but even the process of eating, I mean, I've never honestly never bought bread in my grocery list ever,
Okay.
because of paleo and that strong couple of years I had with that, but then also because I've just never really been a bread person or craved it since that paleo time. And so I now, like, that's one of the only things that makes me like not get sick, honestly, is having like half a piece of bread, like 2 or 3 times a day, because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm starting to feel nauseous. Okay, I need to have like a PB&J or something. And I'm like, this is very interesting. And so I kind of started experiencing it again. I'm like, okay, I definitely don't feel that lean like at all. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, I'm like, is it because of the bread? Is it because of the pregnancy? Is it because I'm producing 40% more blood than I was before, which is something that happens when you get pregnant? And I'm like, I guess it's all of it. It's a little bit of all of it. But like
Mm-hmm.
in this season, I'm not going to deprive like my baby from getting what it
Oh, no,
needs.
no.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like every time I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat like, twice as much as I would have like last year for lunch. I'm like, I'm going to do it. Not like I'm eating for two, but like, I'm just like, oh, like if that's what I need to do is put on weight right now, that's okay. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay with it. And
Yeah.
so
And it also helps to know that like pretty much like all the CrossFit girls are getting pregnant right now or like having babies, you know, so
weird.
many. Yeah,
I
it
was
is. It's
talking to
crazy.
people about that because I just texted Camille and I said, guess what? And she said, you're pregnant too. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I texted Annie. I said, guess
Everybody.
what? She said, you're totally pregnant too. And I'm like, yeah, because
Yeah.
they both are right now. And you look at like
Mm-hmm.
Miranda, who's had two, and um, at Christy Adkins, who's had a baby, and like Lindsay Valenzuela, who kind of started it for
Yeah.
everybody. Even Crispus had it.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible how, I mean, I guess we're all in our 30s, I guess, so maybe that's where it's coming from, but it's like all at the same time. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, we're all so many different ages when we all started. And then we were all so focused.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh, everyone's pregnant. It's like a baby boom. It's so weird.
Yeah. It makes it fun, you know, seeing that, I don't know, kind of going through the journey with them, you know, versus like being the only one, you know, with the baby. So, hey, really quick, did you guys know that you can steal all of my gym and diet secrets for just $47? It's crazy, right? Literally, I've compiled all of my best knowledge that's taken me over 10 years and way over $10,000 to learn. And I've packaged it in an easy to follow step-by-step process for less than the price of a canister of protein powder. My 90-day self-led online course takes you through the exact steps I took my one-on-one clients through, which, by the way, my success rate has never been so consistently high. It's a complete A to Z female diet, mindset, and workout system with over 50 training videos. And it literally has everything you need to create the body you love without giving up everything to have it. Simply go to www.fitchickacademy.com to get access. Now back to the show. So before, like probably before being pregnant, like what was your diet? I mean, I'm sure it's still very similar, but what is your diet like now? How do you control, you know, food intake? Do you feel like you do you manage that really well? Is there any sort of anything that you kind of follow on a daily basis?
Well, I cook a lot with my husband, and so we eat the same meals. I eat almost as much as him, honestly. It's actually funny to me. But like I weigh 150 pounds and he weighs like 180. So it doesn't make sense that we eat the same much. But yeah, we cook together. We make a lot of stuff in the Instapot. So we do like chicken and beef like a couple times a week, and we always make rice in the Instapot, and you just make such big batches of it. And then we have different sauces. We love salsa and like different sauces to put in it, or like mustard, or like not really ketchup, but like any kind of like something that's like kind of special tasting, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like good, or like hot sauce. And so it's always tastes different, but it's basically the same thing.
Yes,
So we'll
exactly.
eat like either chicken and rice or beef and rice and like some vegetables. And
Yeah.
that's pretty common for us for lunch and dinner. And then we've been like getting really creative, like on the weekends with breakfast. We've been doing like some crazy pancakes or like some crazy like brunch, like a New Jersey thing. He's from New Jersey. Is like this what I had yesterday was so funny. It was like it was basically like a really thick ham, and you put that in like you make that on like a bagel and like cheese and
Yeah.
eggs, and like it's called like
Benedict.
Bavarian ham and cheese. And he was like obsessed with it growing up. He was like, I remember there were years where I had this every day. I'm like, you had this every day? Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like eating it and I'm thinking like, I'm good for a bit, man. And so we just like laugh about stuff, but because he lost so much weight, he did it all through a bodybuilding diet.
Okay.
And he naturally does go to what he learned with his bodybuilding diet. So,
Yeah.
he does a lot of egg whites, and he does a lot of like, post dinner, like, we'll eat at like 7, and he'll always have, some kind of really lean protein at like 9:30 or something like that. And so I'll have that with him, even if
Okay.
like Greek yogurt or, egg whites or whatever. So, we kind of do that too, so that you're always kind of like feeling full, like going to bed. But yeah, so I kind of naturally, I guess, tend to that. But because he doesn't weigh everything right now, I don't weigh anything either. And I have normally just recently been able to just like eat when I'm hungry and like do 3 big meals a day and like 2 snacks. And I do that pretty consistently. Like I'm like, okay, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then I have like a brunch snack and then like an afternoon snack and like and then at night when we go to bed, like some kind of protein. And I'm like, okay, I could do that on repeat forever. And it doesn't feel like I'm like not getting what I need. It doesn't feel like I'm like not having fun when I
Deprived.
eat, or that it's like too boring or too
Mm-hmm.
plain, or like that I need to like, do something crazy. But I definitely have like ice cream like 2 or 3 times a week, like at night. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Let's like, put on something. And, we're really into Christian apologetics or documentaries about that kind of stuff, learning about church history and stuff. So we'll put that on, and I'm just like eating ice cream. I'm like, wow, I never would have done this before. This is great. I'm really enjoying this. And I don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. I think it's like when you don't worry about it, when you relax about it all falls into place. But when people grip so tight and cling to a diet program or an art or a template, it just goes haywire, and they lose the connection of whether they're even hungry, and they're instead just expecting the plan to tell them when they're hungry. So
It's a
it's
weird
interesting,
thing. It's
isn't
a
it?
weird thing.
Yeah.
You would think that that would help you, but the stress of it, I think it does a toll on your body, and it can cause really big problems. Like, I do believe that when I got injured, it was because like my body wasn't recovered. My body
Hmm.
wasn't ready. Like, it was so fatigued that it couldn't perform anymore. And it was like, I need a longer break. And it's like, okay, I had never had a break in 7 years of competing. So
Yeah.
once I didn't had a little bit, it was like I need a longer one, and an injury happened. But a lot of
Yeah.
people can, struggle with fatigue in different ways and hormones. And just because I'm in this world now, like I know a lot of women that struggle with fertility, and they tell me, they're like, yeah, it was because I was such an intense athlete for so many years. I've
Yeah.
never had regular periods. I've always had a low body fat percentage. And you think about what's important in life, and then you think about like, like, I don't want to say damaging. Well, like even Chris Spealler talks about it. He talks about it being like there's a healthy zone, and then there's like a competitive zone. And a competitive zone is on the edge of an injury,
That's
on
right.
the edge or the risk of like being burnout or fatigue, or like, not having a good healthy life balance, like with your family, spiritually, food.
Yes.
And he talks about just pushing that to be a competitor. And I'm like, yeah, no competitor can have like seems like a healthy lifestyle, but you have to really choose, like, what are your
Yes.
priorities, and what is longevity going to look like. And I could have told you before that my lifestyle was never going to be what it was before forever. I could have told you I was going to say this can't last forever. I'm doing it now. I don't even know how I'm doing it now, but I can't do this forever. Like, you
Yeah.
knew that too, right? You're like, I can't.
Uh, no, I thought I was like, I'm gonna do this for as long as I can, man. I was just like, just so, I don't know, man. I was just out there, I almost got hardest worker tattooed on my arm. Like I was just all about the grind, and it's just totally changed. But so what does your training style look like now? Like throughout the week, and how long? What do
In
you do?
quarantine.
Well, let's say quarantine's not here.
Oh,
Let's say quarantine's not here.
exactly. So I take class like 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday. I train a lot of private clients, and I'm a personal trainer here. I teach lots of seminars, and I'm always moving during the seminars, and active and demoing and stuff like that. So I always kind of count that as workout, because it's like I teach
Yeah,
7-hour seminars. So it's like, throughout the whole
a
day,
lot.
like at the end, you're like, okay, I can do a quick workout and totally be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, even taking classes, there's not as much high skill and things like that I love to work on. So I do like a session per week of just like my own training on my own, and I always love it. I always feel like that's enough. Classes are freaking hard. Like, it depends on what gym you go to, right? But I like always am like amped for the workout, and love training with Pete. So I would say like, yeah, like 5 to 6 training sessions still a week, usually an hour and a half at the most. is like the most that I would train per day. And I always feel like that's like, a good amount for like a healthy lifestyle. Like I go to that 90-minute mark and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like I feel like great. I can't wait to do it again tomorrow, but I'm not so exhausted that the next day I'm going to feel so fatigued where I need a break. I need a break. I need a break, But yeah, quarantine has been quite different. I mean, we are working out every day, but it's like all body weight stuff. I get really bored of it, honestly, but it's been cool to try to be creative. We only have one weight. Like we have a tiny living room, 135-pound dumbbell for me, 150-pound dumbbell for him. So, always trying to get creative, following a plan. But yeah, it's a little different right now.
Yeah, it is. And we may actually be in here for a while. So it's good to know that too, like how you're doing it during the quarantine. And like, actually, that's a great question. How do you motivate yourself to work out when you don't feel like working out? Or what do you do when you don't feel like working out? Maybe you don't.
Well, for me, it's all about the time of day, because if I sit all day and that's what I would not like naturally want to do. Like if I like wake up, I want to study, or I want to get in the word, or like read the Bible, or like I'm like because I lead a lot of Bible studies in our area, so I'm always trying to prep for those. But if I do that, I always want to do it in the morning. So it's if I do that and then do computer work and then like do some stuff around the house, take care of my dog, whatever. And then like, if I'm pushing the training off, okay, I'll do it at 5. Okay, I'll do it at 6. Okay, I'll do it at 7. I actually don't have like the motivation that, that I need to actually want to train. And then sometimes those days I don't even work out because I'm so like, oh, like I'm exhausted from pushing this off all day and like having all this other stuff to do that like kind of zap my energy or whatever. But so I try to get done earlier. So like I knew we were talking today at noon. And so at like 10:45, I was like, okay, come on, Deborah. And I took my dog. I ran with him to the park with the mask on, dude. It's World War III here in New York. Okay. And I like went to this like really big park where like, you're not even going to be around, people really. And I just did like, those like things where you can like jump on like a bench that's like, you can like drive your knee up really high. Like we used to do them in track and field. So I did 50 on the right leg and I did 50 on the left leg on a bench. Then I did 100 dips in a row. And then I walked around and did 100 lunges and then we ran back. And so like, we probably only ran like 2 miles, 2.5 miles, but my dog was exhausted and so was I. And I was like, dude, like that was hard. Let's go home. And like, we had a blast. And I'm like, I felt so much better doing that than when I like wait. And so now I feel like great. I'm like, okay, I could do maybe a second session if I wanted to. If not, no problem, no pressure, And so, yeah, I just really like getting it done earlier in the day. I really do. It makes a big difference for me energy wise.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, something I know we're getting to the end here, but you have always had this this passion within you that like you've just always seemed like you're always having fun. How do you not make it a chore working out? Like, how do you always make it fun? Is there anything that you do in your mind that you tell yourself to enjoy it, to have fun rather than making it seem like this burden?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm always great at it, but when I do succeed in like, I guess just enjoying it, it's because I really do love fitness. I really always have. And I remember when I was 14, I was giving something up for Lent. I grew up doing that. And I told my dad, you know what, instead of giving something up for Lent, I'm going to work out every day for a whole year. I mean, I was 14 years old. That's pretty insane. And my dad was like, what? Like, just thought it was so crazy. And he's like, you can't do that. And he was like, why? Why would you even try to do that? And I was like, because Dad, working out is really good for you and it's really fun. Like that was like 14, Andrea.
Okay.
Like I still think that. I'm like, yeah, it's really good for you and it's really fun. Like if you think about it, we go to the gym. It's like CrossFit gyms are a big adult playground. They really are. It's like, okay, everyone's gonna have fun and like partner up and you're gonna like crawl on the ground and you're gonna lay on the ground and get up again. You're gonna just pick up a weight. Everybody go get your weights. It's like totally like playground. And so, I guess when I do think of like training, it's like, it's a challenge. I love challenges. I mean, always been like loving like, even stuff like races. Like I think about like when I was a kid, like I would always want to race all the boys like on my block and like we're always racing. I'm like, what was that from? And it's like, I've always had a drive to compete. I've always had a drive to see how good I could be or to see, like the next step, see the next challenge. And so now, you know, it is a little different working out. I would much rather train with a purpose than work out without a purpose. But I know that it's going to get hard, because training and working out, they're both always going to push you to a point of humbling yourself. You're always going to get to a point when you're doing like certain amount of push-ups when you're like, dang, these push-ups are getting really hard. I'm really getting blown up right now. You know, there's not movements that just don't work on your body just because you're competitive. Like there's always going to be a point that you get to where it gets interesting, you know? So, I mean, I think that's fun. I really always have enjoyed it. So yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, it's just, it's your belief, you know, it's your perception. It's the way that you've seemed like you've always looked at fitness, is that it started from you were younger, you know, you just believed fitness is fun. I do this for fun. However, you know, obviously, like when we set expectations, like going to the CrossFit Games, it can put us into a depression mode if we don't hit these expectations.
Right.
So it sounds like you've just you've gotten rid of the expectations for yourself, and you're just there to show up and do whatever and have fun with it, whatever comes about of it.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. That's a good way to look at it. And do you like ever think like, oh, this has to be 20 minutes long, this workout has to be 20 minutes, or it's got to be super intense? Or do you, because that's kind of what people do, and that's what ends up making it a burden, you know?
Right. I guess I do, but not every day, you know, like I think I do like intense workouts 3 days a week at the most. And and the rest are kind of like maintenance workouts where like, yeah, maybe they'll be longer, or maybe they'll be, you know, less defined, I guess, of how long it has to be. But you know, when you have more rest, you can go harder when you have a shorter amount of window to work. So those days when I am doing more intense work, I do extend the rest in between intervals and things like that quite a bit. And then it makes it doable. It makes it manageable. I can go hard at the time, you know, so that helps a lot. And you know, I know you said that we were going to do this at the end, but you know, I am launching this new fitness program, which is going to be super fun. It's on Instagram. It's basically workout videos 5 days a week, very similar to street parking. Miranda helped me kind of develop the beginning brainstorming ideas for it. And then also going to be doing daily videos of faith talks. So they're going to be teachings and just kind of conversations and building community around discussion. Cool. And then it'll be like on an Instagram program. But so I'm like trying out all these workouts now. I'm like programming all the workouts for the first couple of months. We're launching in June. And the whole program is called Embrace Movement. The movement is like, it has no vowels, so it's like MVMNT. And so Embrace Movement, and the tagline is celebrate movement, embrace your faith. And so for me, like, it's not going to be something random, like, oh, I'm selling Louis Vuitton bags now. Like, it's not something random. It's like something that I've always cared about. So it's like, okay, this is really like a passion project that I want to make my next step in a career. And so, you know, that's been really fun, but doing these workouts that I'm programming has been like, oh my gosh, like, do I expect regular people to be able to do this? And what's my audience? Is my audience CrossFit athletes? Or is it women that they want to get their workout and their faith time in an hour? They want to have that like 30-minute warm up, workout, cool down, and then like, you know, some time to relax and reflect, and then be done in an hour. And I think it is more that group. So then sometimes I do them and they're like way too hard. Like I'm on the floor and I'm like, okay, yeah, I gotta like take out less burpees. Like it's gotta be less burpees. Or like sometimes I'll do like, you know, a scaled version and then a challenge version, I call it. And so that way people can choose, and they can choose based off the way they're feeling. I think that's really important for people to go, I got a lot of sleep. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I ate really well. I ate like freaking crap. And to know what workout to choose based on where they're at in that moment when they're going to work out, you know?
That's awesome, dude. That's perfect for you. We definitely, we'll give a little shout out at the end. Let's just say, what is your let's end with this last question. What's your one piece of advice for women that just, they want to look fit, but they don't want to sacrifice, you know, the lifestyle, right? They want that balance. They want to go out to eat, and they want to spend time with their family and friends and not spend it all the time like thinking about their next workout. What's your one piece of advice to achieving that balance?
Okay. You know, I guess it would be, is fitness like the most important thing to you? And if it is, why? what is your motivation for fitness being number one? And what kind of sacrifices are you making physically, spiritually, relationally in order to do that? And is it actually the most important thing? Is it a insecurity, or is it really an athletic motivation of wanting to be the best? Or is it, I want to look a certain way because I think that adds to my value, something like that. So I would say, okay, look at your priority, and you can have like 10 priorities, right? Then you just don't have any priorities. So you got to like, really narrow it down at some point in your life. And if you want balance, then you have to look at it and go, okay, why do I want balance? Why do I need it? How is it going to help me be like healthy, or add to my longevity of being able to stay healthy? And so I would say just like kind of try to find that why, like, even though that feels so overplayed, but like try to find that why, and try to say, okay, I want to go from a healthy motivation. Like, I don't want to be doing this based out of fear or based out of, an insecurity. I want to go based out of like something that's really, really going to keep me fueled for a long time.
Yeah. You nailed it, girl. I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. It all depends on knowing what you want, why you want it, and then making sure you're aligned with that. Because I think so many people are saying, I want this life, like this balance. I want to go out to eat and hang out with friends. But what I'm doing is I'm obsessing over the gym and obsessing over food. And those two things do not align. And so what you said, you nailed it right on the head. I agree. I mean, not like there's a right or wrong answer, but I would agree with that. Yeah. Cool. Awesome, Andrea. All right, girls. So where can people find more of you? Where can they follow you?
Okay. So on Instagram, you can follow me at Ager_Bomb. The name is AGER_BOMB. And, I run a Faith X chapter out here, Faith X NYC. If any listeners are out here, it's a workout and faith program that my husband and I run. Right now it's on Zoom, but it's most of the time in person. We'd love to catch up with you guys in any way, but that organization is all over the nation. And then, I just said I was launching that Embrace Movement program in June. Really looking forward to that. That's honestly going to be like 10 years in the making of like ideas and, a community that's going to be really kind of like, I've always wanted to do this and now's the time. And so, yeah, you guys can find me online. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And where is that? Is there a website that you're doing that?
Yeah, so it's actually out of Instagram, but it's not launched yet. It's like a private page now, but it is at Embrace Movement. Mm-hmm.
At what?
Embrace Movement. And
at
the
Embrace Movement
part is spelled MVMNT.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome, Andrea. All right, girl. Well, I had so much fun. Thank you so much for being on here. It's been awesome.
Yes, thank you so much.
Cool. All right, guys. We will see you on the next video.